Welcome to Chapter 3, the Software Development Lifecycle Process, also known as SDLC. What is the Software Development Lifecycle, also known as the SDLC? The Software Development Lifecycle is a model for the process of planning, designing, developing, and deploying new software systems and applications by tech teams. The purpose and ultimate goal of the SDLC process is to develop and deploy high-quality, low-cost software in the shortest possible production time. The traditional models for software development have changed and evolved significantly over time. There are several different approaches to the software development lifecycle today, as well as variations. Many environments and many companies today develop software like Facebook, Google, and Apple for their products and services that are used by consumers every single day. The software development lifecycle is basically a step-by-step, phase-by-phase process that is used to understand how to develop a software or system. There are 6 main phases or stages within the software development lifecycle. Let's discuss and explore the different stages. Phase 1, requirements. Requirements gathering, or also known as the discovery phase, is the process of identifying the technical and non-technical requirements of a project to create a clear timeline of deliverables, which ultimately helps minimize the risk and cost associated with a new software development project. Requirements for systems and projects are collected and analyzed through brainstorming, interviews, surveys, focus groups, and various other ways depending on the nature of the project as well as the team. Usually requirements gathering is done by a stakeholder known as a business analyst. A business analyst is someone in the project or team who interfaces or directly hosts meetings as well as faces the client to understand their needs as well as the purpose of the software. Business analysts try to pinpoint the pain points of the user and try their best to translate these requirements from the client side to the development team as well as the entire team. Business analysts are very critical in their responsibility and role because, based on their analysis and findings as well as understanding the scope of the requirement, the team will have a strong understanding as well as be able to deliver high quality results. In the requirements gathering phase, there may be multiple meetings as well as many different types of input from the client side and end users. The main goal of this phase is to understand what the client wants from this new software or system and why is it being created in the first place. Let's look at an example of the requirements phase within the software development lifecycle. Sarah's Bakery. Scenario: Sarah runs a very busy bakery in New York City where a lot of customers visit every day to grab a coffee or pastry. Although her physical store is very successful, Sarah has an idea to expand her business digitally to reach more customers and manage orders, and her friend recommended that she create a mobile application. Problem or problem statement. Sarah wants to establish her digital presence and currently does not have a mobile application. So she wants to build one for her customers to do things like view the menu, place an order, delivery or pickup, and even request custom orders from her bakery. Analysis. Here, there are a few ideas within the technical spectrum that are listed for a high-level design or overview for Sarah's application. For example, when considering a mobile application, we would look at if it's an Android application or an iOS application. We would also look at things like budget and timeline, and also mobile app features, as well as the user interface and other features and elements. Let's think about the profile of some of the customers that visit Sarah's Bakery on a regular basis. Sarah's Bakery has a high volume of customers from daily commuters to tourists visiting NYC. So she consults with a development team who suggests that she go with a mobile e-commerce based application with built-in features like custom user-friendly mobile interface design, ordering and tracking system, and a product catalog for items on menu, including discounts and daily specials. As part of her research, Sarah creates a questionnaire form for all customers interested in winning a $25 gift card and a free coffee for 1 month at her bakery to understand their pain points and how she can improve her current business model or even add new items to the menu. This questionnaire is a digital questionnaire that can be accessed via customers' mobile phones or even Google Forms. After much brainstorming and analysis, the solution Sarah came up with for her business is to choose an OpenSeat.io platform, which is a very popular e-commerce platform that has tons of optional features built in and integrations as a solution for the application. Through this experience, Sarah was able to analyze and extract requirements for her mobile application. Sarah lists down very important details such as what the product of the end result will be, which is a mobile application, the type of mobile application, which is e-commerce, and the platform she will be incorporating, which is OpenSeat.io. The primary or the most critical features or functionality within our mobile application include view menu, place an order, track order, delivery or pickup option, as well as bespoke or custom orders. Within this application that Sarah wants to develop, the budget includes a premium subscription plan to the OpenSeat.io platform, which is an e-commerce mobile-based platform, as well as fixed rate hours for the development team to be working a total of 60 hours to develop this entire application, its features, and functionality. Sarah and the development team have decided to have a bi-weekly meeting to ensure that things such as deliverables and expectations are on track. Sarah also establishes weekly goals with the development teams. Once the requirements have been identified in the first phase, We move on to the next phase of the software development lifecycle, which is design. The design phase in the software development lifecycle is where designers, developers, and other stakeholders translate the high-level business requirements for a system into technical specifications and architecture. The main goal of this phase is to create a blueprint or outline on how to build the core functionalities as well as the value it provides to the end users. Documentation is a key aspect of the design phase, as it outlines the relationships, integrations, and core functionalities of the system and expectations for how it should work. The design phase is very critical because in order for the system or product to be very successful, it must have a good design. There are 4 stages within the design process. Stage 1, business requirements. Stage 2, requirements analysis. Stage 3, technical and non-technical specifications and architecture. And Stage 4, acceptance criteria and approval or sign-off. In the case of Sarah's Bakery, the first stage is to look at the business requirements and highlight the core functionalities that will be developed in the mobile application. The core functionalities, according to the business requirements, within Sarah's application are view menu, place an order, delivery or pickup, and custom order. These are the core features and functionalities that are provided to customers through her mobile application. In the next stage, requirements analysis, the team breaks down the technical and non-technical specifications for how to build the actual application. In this stage, we consider things such as building a website and buying a domain name, buying a subscription to the OpenSeat.io platform point of sale system, mobile delivery and tracking system within OpenSeat.io e-commerce platform, and also special request form, quote, or inquiry for custom order. As you can see here, these are the technical details of the actual mobile application in terms of where it's going to be hosted, how it's going to be displayed, and what technology is involved in creating this application. In the third stage, for technical and non-technical specifications in architecture, as you can see here, we further break down the technical details and involved in this design and development of this application. Things like registering the domain design and building a mobile site, exploring the OpenSeat.io themes and integrations, OpenSeat.io delivery and tracking system, which is built into the platform, and OpenSeat.io customizable third-party integrations, such as scheduling, as well as contact. The third stage is very important because it gives us a clear idea as to how the technical architecture of the application is going to come together to build the end product. The last stage of the design process is acceptance criteria and approval or sign-off. In this stage, we work with the client to create acceptance criteria that satisfies the expectations of what the system or application is designed and developed to do as the client has requested. Things like acceptance criteria number 1 mobile application menu and catalog, acceptance criteria number 2, OpenSeat.io e-commerce template, acceptance criteria 3 and 4, which is also OpenSeat.io built-in features and customizable options. In the last stage, acceptance criteria and approval or sign-off, we work directly with the client to create acceptance criteria that satisfies the core functionality and expected results of the system. Basically, a minimum threshold or to ensure that the client receives what they actually asked for in terms of managing expectations. As you can see here, acceptance criteria number 1 is mobile application, menu, and catalog. Number 2, OpenSeat.io e-commerce template and platform. And then 3 and 4 is also built-in features and core functionality that is integrated within OpenSeat.io. All these acceptance criteria is to ensure that there is no discrepancy or very minimal discrepancy between what the client asks for and what they actually receive in the end of the process. Once we complete the design phase and have a clear idea of how our mobile application will look, we move on to the development phase. The development phase of the SDLC process is where the technical requirements and specifications provided by the software design team are implemented by software developers or engineers to actually build the core technical features and functionalities of the system or application using various environments, platforms, tools, programming languages, databases, external systems, APIs, and much, much more. There are 2 types of development involved in this process. The front-end development is basically refers to the programming or code implementation that creates the visual layout and design of the system or application. Basically, you can think of front-end development as what you see in the interface of the website. Front-end developers create the graphical user interface, also known as GUI, that interacts directly with the user and transmits data to the backend system. Here is a process workflow for a front-end development project. As you can see here, this is a mobile phone. In the mobile phone, when designing a mobile application, all things are considered, such as how will the user interface look when the mobile application first opens, pretty much the landing phase. Things like username and password for the login screen. 2, very specific details of how product pages and other mobile pages will be displayed on the mobile screen. The second type of development involved in this process is backend development. Backend development simply refers to the programming or code implementation that handles all of the data generated from the user input or interactions and transmitted from the front end to be processed and stored in the backend. Basically, you can think of backend development as what you don't see happening behind the scenes of a mobile application. Backend developers use programming languages like Java to create algorithmic solutions that integrate environments, platforms, tools, databases, APIs, and other complex functionality into the application. As you can see here, as part of the backend development process, there are several different interfaces and applications and platforms involved. Some are systems, and some are even subsystems. Things like servers, databases, and database languages like SQL, which we'll talk about later. Here is the development whiteboard where we basically outline the front end and back end pieces or aspects of the mobile application. As you can see here in the front end section, we have things like choose a template, theme, and layout configuration for how the mobile application will look and feel. Develop and integrate custom HTML or CSS forms for user input. Create JavaScript functions for all user input data. Create model user interface and site navigation. As you can see here in the backend section, we have things like write Java code to build logic and backbone of the application, configure server-side requests and response protocols, create database and network schema for app data, and connect APIs, REST or SOAP for client-server protocols. Basically, in the pipeline for mobile development process or application, you can see that the front end generates the actual data from the user input and transmits it to the back end that handles operations and very complex functionality with that data. So front end, user input data, back end, data processing, and storage. Once the development phase is complete, we move on to the most exciting part of the process, software quality assurance testing, phase 4. Software QA testing in the SDLC process is where an existing component or even core features and functionality of a system or application is tested in various ways to ensure that there are no software bugs or unusual behavior performing as expected based on specific conditions and requirements set forth by the client or stakeholder, also known formally as the acceptance criteria or threshold. In the QA testing phase for Sarah's Bakery, we have two types of testing, just like we do two types of development. We have here front-end testing, and we have here back-end testing. Some examples of the front-end testing process include functional testing of user interface elements or components, unit testing of visible features or functions on app pages, user acceptance testing for end users, accessibility, regression, and UI automation testing, which all of these we will cover in detail much later. Backend testing includes SQL or SQL database testing for schema, DB, server, and logic, non-functional testing such as performance and security, API testing with XML and JSON, either REST or SOAP AUI protocols, and even cross-platform or cross-browser testing for data consistency and persistence, which we will cover in detail later. Here is an example of the front-end QA testing process for Sarah's Bakery. For example, when we look at the mobile application that is in development, we look at things like the site layout and theme. For example, here, we look at elements such as the site layout and theme, rating system or review system that can be incorporated in the mobile application, a search bar navigation, which includes searching for items, add to cart button, product page highlighting each item or bakery item, checkout page for mobile delivery or mobile orders, and even digital product catalog, which includes the description of what each item is and how delicious they can be. When it comes to back-end software QA testing in Sarah's Bakery, we look at things like user input and user data generated by completing different forms and interactions by the user. The data is then transferred to cloud storage or other databases and transmitted over servers. Different coding algorithms and programming languages such as Java, client server requests that are sent in very specific protocols, and then storage into SQL databases that are basically transmitting and processing the data that is collected from the front end testing. Even things like API integration is considered. API integration is important when considering payment processing such as PayPal or other important or very big processors. Once the QA testing process has been completed, we move on to the phase known as tracking and reporting. The tracking and reporting phase in the SDLC process is where the results of the QA test execution cycle is analyzed for satisfying the user acceptance criteria before the application or system is launched and goes live in the real world. Reporting also involves tracking of software test execution cycles, including popular software project management tools like Atlassian Jira. And last but not least, we move on to the final phase of the software development lifecycle known as maintenance. The maintenance phase in the software development lifecycle is after the release or deployment of the system or application, where the team monitors any software bugs or issues with the core functionality once it's live and working in the real world. Users can report bugs or errors or any unusual or unexpected behavior for the application during the maintenance phase. Once the software development lifecycle is complete and the software application or system is launched, the team usually gives a demo to the client and stakeholders to outline its features and core functionality, as well as provide training on how to access, use, and do other functions as designed by the system. This is important because clients would usually require some kind of support after the product or application has been launched. There are several scenarios in which clients in the corporate world as well as in commercial sector as well as small businesses require this kind of support for large applications as well as commercial off-the-shelf products, also known as COTS. The client provides feedback on the overall performance and the functionality of the system that was launched. Sometimes the client or stakeholders may want to increase the performance, capacity, or make some upgrades to the system to include new features and functionalities that did not exist before. So the software team goes through another SDLC or software development lifecycle iteration, which means that it runs through the process fairly quickly this time since it's a smaller feature or functionality that needs to be integrated into the overall system. This concludes Chapter 3, the Software Development Lifecycle, SDLC process. Thank you.